Hi, it's Lily here from Dogfullife. In this video, I want to show you one of my all-time favorite behaviors, touch, also known as hand targeting. Touch is a really great relationship building and confidence building behavior for dogs. It's also a great way for pet parents to practice training mechanics, and it also has so many different uses. For this training video, I've structured the content as follows. What is the goal behavior? Why is it awesome possum? How to teach the behavior, troubleshooting, and building fluency to take it to the next level. You can use the timestamps at the bottom of the video or in the description below if you want to skip to a specific section. The goal behavior is that when you say the verbal cue touch and hold out your hand, your dog will touch your hand with their nose. In my case, I like to use 2 fingers, but you can also use a flat palm or a closed fist. In all these cases, the hand also serves as a visual cue. One of the reasons why this behavior is so awesome is because it's usually very easy to teach a dog to touch. It capitalizes on a natural curiosity that most dogs have. Not only is it a great relationship building behavior, but it also allows us to practice our training mechanics, things like the timing of marking the behavior, how we deliver the reinforcement, and building fluency. This behavior sounds simple, but it has so many uses. You can use it as a recall, especially when your dog no longer responds to your normal recall cue. You can use it to move your dog around without using any force. For example, when you need to get your dog onto the scale at the vet office. You can also use it as an alternative behavior to a dog that jumps on guests. You can use it to train other behaviors like spin, leg weaves, pushing buttons, pushing doors, etc. You can also use it to help dogs who are shy or nervous, especially around hands, but you'll have to take it a lot slower because they likely already have an aversion to hands. So the list is really endless for how you can use touch. It's only limited by our imagination. What you'll need to initially teach the behavior are food, a quiet, low distraction environment, and optionally, a clicker if that's what you use as your marker. Starting with your hand behind your back, present your hand close to your dog at their nose level. Your dog will naturally want to sniff or investigate your hand. The moment you feel your dog touch your hand, mark and reinforce. Repeat this a few times. Once your dog is reliably touching your hand and you would bet money that your dog would touch your hand again the next time you present your hand, move on to step 2. Before you present your hand, say the verbal cue, touch. Then present your hand, mark and reinforce. Repeat this several times. Make sure that you only say the verbal cue once because you don't want your dog to learn to ignore the verbal cue or think that the verbal cue is touch, touch, touch. If your dog doesn't touch your hand after you say the verbal cue, that's okay. Just go back to step 1 by hiding your hand behind your back and presenting it again without the verbal cue. Do this a few more times before moving on to step 2 again.
Touch, yes.
If your dog doesn't touch your hand, here are some things that you can try. Put your hand behind your back again, pause, and then present your hand again. This time maybe closer to your dog to make it easier. If that doesn't work, you can use a treat and put it between your fingers, like so. Or if you plan on using a fist to hand target, then you can just put the treat in your hand and close your fist. If neither of those things work, or if you have a shy dog, you'll have to start with even just marking approximations towards the hand. Things like looking at your hand, maybe their ears pointing towards your hand, or their head orienting towards your hand. You'll have to start slow and then build it up and start marking for actual movement towards your hand. Another thing you might run into is if your dog starts nipping or mouthing your hand, then mark before they actually touch your hand. Try to avoid marking and reinforcing them actually nipping or biting at your hand. Now that your dog understands the behavior, it's time to solidify it by building fluency. A dog is fluent in a behavior when they're able to perform it in a wide range of situations. For example, try changing the location of your hand, maybe a little bit to the left or to the right, up or down. You could also try moving your dog a longer distance by standing a little bit further away before asking for touch. You could use different hands, so let's say you started training with your right hand, you could start using your left hand. You could have other people ask for the behavior, or even play ping pong by having your dog go between different people with the touch cue. You can start to ask for multiple touches before reinforcing. You could also move your hand so that it becomes a target that your dog has to follow. You can also practice this behavior in multiple different environments. So we started out in a quiet, low distraction environment. You could then practice it in different rooms in the house, in the backyard, in the front yard, during walks, or at the park. Remember that as you increase criteria, try not to throw the kitchen sink at your dog. Don't go from initially teaching your dog how to touch inside the house straight to asking for a touch in a park where 3 other dogs are running around. Instead, work up to it by increasing certain dimensions one at a time, things like distance, duration, or distractions. For example, the first time you ask for a touch outside at a park, make sure there aren't any other distractions around, and try to ask for a short distance touch. That way you make it easier in one dimension and harder in another. After you practice more in that environment, then you can start to increase the criteria, like asking for a touch from further away. If your dog doesn't touch your hand after you've cued it, it usually means you've increased criteria too quickly, or you aren't using a high value enough reinforcer given the environment you're in. Try to reduce criteria and make it easier again. You'll hear me say this in my videos a lot, but go at your dog's pace. Every dog is different. I hope you enjoy teaching touch with your dog. Comment below and let me know what you think. If you liked this content, hit the thumbs up and subscribe button to get notifications of my next video. He doesn't want to move. They're spooning each other. They're not moving a muscle, honey.